council chambers, as well as those that are joining us from home. Sorry I didn't have the microphone on. But this is a meeting of the Poquoson City Council for Monday, April 10th, 2017. If we could all please rise, I'll lead you in the invocation and pledge of allegiance. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and for the many blessings we have received as a city. As we deliberate the issues before us this evening, guide us and always keep us mindful of those in need. Please pass along your presence and your strength to those who serve in our military tonight, as well as those who serve our local police, fire, and all our public servants. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, hey, I thought the timing on that was really good. All right, I have a couple of special presentations this evening. The first two will be pretty easy. The second one might be long, so we'll do these first two first. And this is if I could get Patrick McCormick and Robert Hennessy to join me up here at the at the podium here. And then after that, the city manager will give us a budget presentation. Thanks for that, Randy.
I will be very brief.
All right, this presentation is for Mr. Patrick McCormick, who, whereas Patrick McCormick, a junior at Poquoson High School, qualified to wrestle in the Group 3A state championship tournament, and he's excelled in his weight class by winning his third consecutive 3A individual state championship. That's quite the athletic feat. And whereas in addition to this honor, Patrick McCormick has as a junior already committed to the University of Virginia upon his graduation from high school. The city of Poquoson wanted to recognize you, young man, for this quite a dramatic achievement, both in athletics and in academics.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Where's Mr. Hennessy? Is he not here? Okay.
Unable to join us this evening, sir.
All right. All right. Randy, you have a budget presentation. How would you like to proceed on this?
Well, first off, following a three-time state wrestling champion is not the way to start, but Patrick, congratulations to your whole family.
Yeah, and now y'all can stay for the budget presentation if you would like. It's riveting.
All right, thanks, Mr. Mayor. What I would propose to do, if it's all right with you, rather than read my budget message, which is 5 pages long, I thought I would simply summarize the document that has previously been provided to you. It's also available online, and it was made available to the employees ahead of time, as we do here in Poquoson. So there's not a whole lot of surprise that comes with the budget, but I think it is appropriate to summarize it, both for you and for members of the public, as we prepare for the deliberation on the budget, which comes as early as 2 weeks from now with your public hearing. So if I could, I'll just briefly move through some slides which are designed to summarize the initial part of the budget. As we always do, we begin with a review of the current year's budget. It's only as good as the foundation from which we start. I'm pleased to tell you once again, our financial situation is strong. Our reserves are strong. We meet or exceed our guidelines. Our general fund revenues, as you know from the periodic reports that you get, overall are performing as anticipated. Lack of surprises on the revenue side is always good news. And that our enterprise funds remain healthy. You'll recall a few years ago, you took several actions to strengthen those funds, and all of those efforts continue to bear fruit as we move forward. Some key elements as it relates to revenue in the budget. Number 2 bullet is the one most often asked first, but this is a reassessment year. You'll recall we do reassessments every 2 years. So the 2-year average increase in assessed value of real property is 2.8%. The budget before you, in form of recommendation, recommends that we maintain a level tax rate. That's not only for real estate, but also personal property. Every tax rate, in fact, from the larger ones down to the smaller. There is one proposed revenue enhancement in the budget. That is an increase in the revenue recovery fees, and as you'll see in the budget, it's intended or recommended to be specifically tied to providing the local funding necessary to add that 10th person to the last of our 3 shifts. To have 10, we'd like to get to 10. Once we get to 10, we'd like to begin talking with you in the future about getting beyond 10, but this gets us to 10. And no increases in the solid waste fees or sewer fees. We may, in the future, need to look at those. You'll recall a few years ago, we were able to take one down. We have one that we may have to put up in the future. I'm talking at least a year out, but we hope to be able to manage the other one so that the net is the same. So that's not something that is before you now, but something that we're giving some thought to. Once we came out of the recession a few years ago, at least we came out as part of the plan that you implemented that brought us to our AAA bond rating. We have some guiding principles that we use as a staff, which we believe reflect your core fiscal values. One is it's constrained to stay within projected revenue. What that means is tax increases as a matter of advancing programs or other things are not something that we typically would do, and we are not doing that here. And that is consistent with your guidance from your retreat. As always, it sounds simple to follow all of your adopted financial policies. It's not that simple, but we have done it. What I mean by that is those are high bars to stay at. We've gotten there, we stay at them. And the other thing, which is a cornerstone to continued improvement, ongoing revenue support, ongoing expenses. So there's no use of fund balance for an operating expense. As you'll recall from your retreat, in no particular order, the senior staff and I, working together in November, developed 7 strategic priorities that are for our management thinking, but also as they reflect in the budget. Again, in no particular order. You'll see them here. I won't read them to you. That's a reduced number from the previous year, not because the other things aren't important, but recognizing that we cannot make progress in all areas with a constrained revenue. So we're trying to focus on the things that are the most important of the most important. The first, again, if you'll, thanks, Teresa. The first, and again, they're presented in no particular order, but school division-based budget is first. Like the city government, the school system has the same kinds of bills that it needs to pay and the same kind of increases that it needs to deal with on such things as health insurance and retirement. You may recall that the state changed the way that the Virginia retirement system increases were done a few years ago, where every other year there's a rate change. This is the school's year coming up. Ours will follow the year after. So this will be a larger issue for their budget in the coming year, and we will switch places with them in that regard the following year. They, like us, deal with the impacts of changing state and federal mandates, along with unfunded or partially funded requirements that they have. They're also continue to deal with decreased enrollment. That has operational impacts. It also has revenue impacts. And I already spoke about VRS. This budget includes a recommendation that we increase local funding for schools by $195,000. That is just the second line there. That's an increase of $20,000 more than the current year. And it is really designed to help them with those issues above and also to assist them in moving forward with the second phase of their three-phase teacher pay plan and employee adjustment. You'll recall, in the current fiscal year, we were able to do a little bit more, but they were doing it over a period of years, so this is the second year of that. There is one item in the budget. In past years, we have recommended larger number of items to be funded out of the general fund balance. You'll recall from your retreat discussion that the general fund balance that we have available to put towards these types of things is tightening. That is the result of many things. It's really the unhappy result of good news. And the good news is we're being much more successful in our ability to recruit and retain employees, particularly public safety employees, but also public works employees. When they're here and on the job, they're not creating salary vacancy. And that's been our principal source. So we've made a conscious attempt to lessen that number of suggested being spent out of the, quote, excess general fund balance. One school bus is we've been doing one of those a year from that source back for several years. On the city-based budget side, there were a number of things, and you'll recall most of them from your retreat. One of the things that we needed to do in the context of this budget is to actually put into the budget the firefighter position that was approved by the council in November of 2016. We've done that. We need to put in the full year funding for the 1% pay increase that went into effect January the 1st. We've done that. You'll recall last September, I think it was, when we worked with you to establish the new retiree health insurance benefit, we talked about some of the things we would fund in the current year, but we also have an out-year liability and we needed to begin to make contributions to that fund. This begins that process. So we're funding both our anticipated current year and beginning, just like we thought, to chip away at the longer term. We're right on track with that plan. You may recall some of the council members that were here a few years ago. One of the ways that we initially stretched the fire department's budget to add a position was we recognized the fact that they had a great deal of salary vacancy and we could use that to actually self-fund. As they have gotten closer and closer to maintaining full staffing, we need to begin to reduce that budgeted vacancy. And so it doesn't have any operational effect, but what it will do is it will help us keep that minimum 8 staffing, and potentially at times, depending on anticipated workload, maybe even go beyond it as a minimum staffing. We're basically, we budgeted an IOU in that budget, and we're basically doing away with half of it here. Another thing that you may recall in dealing with the recession, almost all things like vehicle replacements and a lot of maintenance and other things had to come out of the budget. For the first time, this budget actually is beginning, makes a recommendation to put in a police car in the operating budget. We know we're going to buy at least one police car. There are, the chief could make a case for 3 right now based on mileage. And so in addition to what we may be able to do in managing his budget through the course of the year, this is the beginning to put smaller replacement items back in the operating budget, getting away from the fund balance as a funding mechanism. There are no specific new programs or initiatives in the base budget, but there are a few enhancements to some existing ones, and I'll cover those in a second. Another thing the council will recall from the retreat, and this is certainly something the council is well aware of, at some point we really do need to do a pay study. They're typically done, as you see, every 3 to 5 years. Many of our neighbors have done them. We have not done one since I came here about 8 years ago. And I know that you can't do it now because we're revenue constrained. I know that you'd like to be able to do it. I know that we're revenue constrained, but this is important to talk about as it prepares us for future years. And one of the things that you asked at your retreat was that we made sure to incorporate a 2% pay adjustment for employees effective July 1st, which we've done. The next one is more of a strategic discussion point than a specific large budget initiative. But one of the things that keeps me up at night is that first bullet. I think I've related this story to most of you, but if you'll indulge me if you've heard it before. In November at our senior management retreat, which included the constitutional officers, I asked everybody that wasn't a constitutional officer or an intern to stand up and close their eyes after putting a hand on their desk for safety reasons. And I read the names of all of the people in the room that were at or would be at full VRS retirement in this council's 4-year term. And at the end, I asked people to look around the room, and there were only three people standing. And that's something that requires our constant attention. It will, as I say, it will change how we organize a little bit. That doesn't necessarily cost money. It'll change how we train, who we train, and what we train them to do. We have been, as you've seen in my own office, cross-training is extremely important, and certainly not just in mine. It will change who we hire, and what I mean by that is there are times where we may not have the luxury of hiring an entry-level, unskilled person with the hope to grow him or her professionally for 5 or 6 years to take over. If we know that we've got a department head in a small department who may be 2 years out, we may have to look for somebody with more experience and more seniority to come in as that second position. And we have to do, as a staff, and we're doing it, the things necessary to prepare our current staff to be eligible for promotion. That does not mean in every instance that will happen, but I think we have an obligation as well as a great resource to tap in preparing our folks so that they can be as ready for that next step as possible here in Poquoson. Most of them have already spent a great deal of time here, and in our tradition will likely spend more. And so that's our first hope, but it's not exclusive of other options. There is one specific budget initiative that is aligned with this, and I'll talk about that when I get to it. Council will recall over the past several years we have been putting money back into the operating budget for maintenance and other things. And I'll never tell you we have enough, but in terms of regular maintenance and routine grounds maintenance, building maintenance, vehicle maintenance, things like that, we're in a much better position than we have been and have been in years, probably even before the recession. But what is missing still, and I know you're aware of this from our annual CIP discussions, we've not yet figured out a viable, reliable, consistent funding source to get at some of the larger things. And by that, I'm talking we've got a fire truck on the short-term horizon. Those are expensive. We've got school buses and other equipment for the schools. We've got several roofs which in the near term, not imminent, but near term will need either considerable repair or replacement. We have HVAC systems that are beyond their useful life, like in this building, and we continue through good maintenance to make it work, but our time will run out on those things. Don't expect that to be imminent, like I said, but it's something to talk about. We have, as you will recall from the last CIP discussion, we have north of $1 million, potentially north of $2 million worth of public works equipment, some of which is older than my children, and which will need to be replaced, at least some of it. Again, not imminently, but as we talk about the budget, it's not just 1 year, it's sort of the financial plan going forward. So that's something that we would like to continue to work with you on. I know throughout probably towards the end of the summer, we'll be digging into the CIP, which includes major equipment replacement, and we can talk more about that. But one of the ideas that we can talk about at that time and in future budget retreats is the idea beginning, not this year, but in future years, just beginning to allocate even a small percentage that we would build on from year to year of the new ongoing revenue sources and just begin to put it into the CIP for this kind of purpose. Kind of like what we did this year with the police car and because that's a less than $50,000 expense. It really needs to be there, but I would argue we've already begun it, but we began it in the operational budget, but we've got more to do. There were, and you see them here, when I look up I can't see. New positions requested in the fire department, police department, several in mosquito control, public works. We talked at the retreat about the assistant director of public works position, which is important. From my perspective, that's not even included on the list. Finance and utilities, all positions that would be easy to argue and easy to demonstrate a need for. We don't have the resources to do all of those things, but what you will find in this budget are 4 recommended positions. The first is that 10th on the 3rd shift, to make 3 shifts of 10 for the fire department. As you'll recall, we applied for the grant to help us with that, but with the revenue recovery bundle that's also recommended, we have enough money that even if we are turned down from the grant, we're ready to go. And so we've got kind of a dual layer. We have to wait until we get the decision on the grant because you can't supplant. But if it goes against us, and I hope that it won't, but if it does, we'll be ready to go at that point with that revenue bundle. There is 1 police officer position. Rather than doing like we're doing with the fire department, the idea of adding 1 to a shift, we've been doing that and we'll likely continue to do that. The police department position is different. It's designed to be a flexible asset that the police chief, deputy chief, or captain I should say, works together and decides where it needs to be. Does it need to be helping investigations? Does it need to supplement a shift? Does it need to supplement certain times? Does having an additional trained police officer allow us the opportunity to absorb a vacancy without negatively impacting a shift or a vacation? Or does it allow us to hire someone that needs to go to the police academy to get certified and still not detract from the shift? So it's designed to be a bit of a Jack or Jill of all trades as a police officer to be used where most needed. Same is arguably true with mosquito control. As you know, we have 2 people in mosquito control, and we have a public works department which does a great deal of work to maintain drainage, not just streets, but the drainage. And part of drainage is mosquito control, in addition to the more normal mosquito control activities like information and targeted spraying and things like that. So I'm asking you to add 1 additional position there, recognizing that in public works, they work as a unit, and you can have 7 people working mosquito control a day if it's necessary, and on days where mosquito control isn't primary, those people could be working doing something else, on a park, on a street, but I'm asking you to consider that. And the last position is the one I'd referenced before as being specific to a succession management issue. I'm hopeful that Bob Speechley, in addition to being our AV person, never retires. But hope is not a plan, and this position, which will be funded with existing available resource stream within the enterprise fund, is really the one that will be in charge of record keeping and planning and scheduling and all of the administrative office tasks that require, they're kind of that mix between an office support position and the working person out there working in utilities. It's extraordinarily helpful to have a combination of both skill sets. We actually have a person we think may be excellent for that. But what we're doing is we're preparing for Bob's departure, which again, Bob, I hope doesn't come for years. But we're preparing for that. And the last, I think it's the last, of the 7 is new facilities and replacement. You talked about this extensively at your retreat. Council recognizes, school board recognizes the single most important decision that we've got in the midterm, maybe long-term, for the city, or the first 2. As you will recall, the school system studied a few years back whether or not we should consider consolidating schools from 4 to 3? And if so, which school would be the one that would be taken out of service? That study has not advanced as we sort of waited to let the rest of what was happening in the city sort of catch up, but now it is once again a germane discussion, an important one, and the decision there will have bearing on the middle school project. I'm going to oversimplify this, but if a decision was made to consolidate the schools, then we may have to consider certain changes to the middle school to accommodate that or other schools. If a decision is made to consolidate, we may be able to, as a city government, make constructive use of a school that's taken out of service for some of our other longer-term capital needs that are in our CIP. So it really is the linchpin discussion. Of course, the most important financial discussion is the middle school, and the council made a decision which I think was prudent, which is let's not take on any new debt or any new projects until those first two things are taken care of, and its decision is made on how we will go forward. The public safety building is an out-year CIP project. It's mentioned here. It definitely sits in sequence to the others. It's mentioned because it's important, but it's also may be dependent upon the answers to the first two. So there was really no way to leapfrog it because those first two are just so important to our community. So that's those are the 7 priorities and how they're treated in the budget. For those that like the math of it, the total requested budget, $28.5 million. Now that's general fund budget. There is a larger budget. The larger budget is, I got it. The total requested budget for all funds is $35,160,000. And the recommended budget to you, general fund, $27,719,000, and the total recommended budget is $34,290,000. As I said previously, we are not proposing any changes to the tax rates, but for informational purposes and for purposes of the ad that we did, you'll recall we advertised both what we call the requested rate and the recommended rate. The tax rates required to fund the budget in its entirety as requested, the real estate rate would need to be $1.12. That's not what we recommended, but it's there for your information. And you'll recall in your retreat, you had some discussion about the cigarette tax and whether or not that should be increased. Didn't put that in the recommended budget, but we did create the opportunity to consider an increase of up to 30 cents from 20 in our requested budget advertisement should the council wish to do that. Next up, Teresa. Some key dates going forward. The 24th of April is the most important single day of the budget deliberation process. There certainly can be other days as well. On the 24th, which is 2 weeks from today, we will have a joint session with the school board. They will come and present their budget recommendations. Superintendent obviously will be here as well. In case you're wondering, superintendent and school board's requested local contribution is the one that's in my budget. Can't say enough about how well we work together 12 months out of the year. And it's reflected in those types of things. I think perhaps with maybe one exception in my time here, those numbers have always matched. And in fact, I think in all 8 times, the other one was simply a note saying, and if you could find a little more, we could use some additional help. So the school board session will have your, unless you decide to have one sooner, your first work session on our budget as well, which is designed to explore questions, suggestions, thoughts, alternatives that each of you may have. We'll also do what we've traditionally done. We'll bring in what we call the add delete sheet. Budget is frozen in time, but it's a living thing. So since the day that the foundational decisions for the budget were made, things continue to change. Revenue estimates go up, revenue estimates go down, other expenses move around. We will bring that back to you. At this point, it's gone down overall in terms of the revenue side. We will bring you a plan which doesn't materially affect the budget to stay in balance, because for us, of course, that's essential. So we'll bring you our suggested plan to deal with that. And then, obviously, the note at the bottom is we don't assume that you won't want to have additional work sessions, but these are the ones that are planned, the 24th, the 8th, if there are also issues. And then, of course, through the special meeting process, the council can have as many additional work sessions as you think might be necessary. The budget is scheduled for adoption on the 8th, and as you recall from the charter, you have, I think it's 40 days from the date it's officially submitted to you to take action. So that's pretty close to the end of that 40-day period. For those folks that would like to see the larger document, it's a couple hundred pages long, I think. It's available online on our website, has been since Friday. There's a hard copy available in the library, certainly a hard copy available in my office, and I'm sure in the finance department if someone would like to, that's just better for them to read it than read it online. You're welcome to come see a copy. You're welcome to come borrow a copy if you'd like to take it home. With that, sir, I think that concludes my remarks, except if I could make one more comment. I try to do every time I prepare a budget, I prepare a summary for myself the day of. It helps keep it in my head because it really is living hundreds of decisions. But one of the questions that I put on my cheat sheet for today for myself is to compare the number of positions that are recommended in this budget with where we started. The total number of positions, including the ones additions, is 148.3, including the enterprise funds, police department, fire department, every department. And just for your reference, in FY 2008, which was the year before the recession really hit us, the number of positions that we had was 148.2. So assume, just for the sake of this point only, that you approve the budget that I recommended to you after it's taken from 2008 to 2018 to get back to where we started. Now, that's a position count. The positions are not all in the same place by any stretch of the imagination, but I just thought that was an interesting fact. I thought I'd bring that up to you.
Very good.
Save Mr. Freeman the trouble.
Actually is an interesting fact. Questions of Randy on the presentation? Okay. It's early on in the budget. Thank you, Randy. It sounds like you were able to factor in everything that we talked about during the offsite. Appreciate the hard work. Appreciate the hard work, Teresa, as well.
Teresa, Robin, Jessica, Doreen, just a number of people.
Right.
Mike.
So Line's done another good job, and appreciate the path ahead and the explanation of that. So sounds like a positive motion forward. All right. Next item on the agenda is an audience for visitors. Is there anybody in council chambers that would like to speak on any subject? Bob, do you want to come tell us you're going to retire?
Turn the mic on.
Oh, he's going to tell me to turn the mic on. All right. The audience for visitors, if there's anybody that would like to speak. Okay, seeing none, I'll close the audience for visitors and ask for approval of the minutes.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes of our regular session of March the 27th, 2017.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded that we approve the regular session of March 27th. Questions or comments? Hey, Judy, please.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Hux.
Aye.
Councilman Canella.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Okay, the work session?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the minutes of our work session of the same day.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded that we approve those as well. Judy, please.
Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
Councilman Canella,
Aye.
Councilman Southall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilman Hux,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
and Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Okay. On to new business. We have a resolution adopting a deputy city clerk.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution appointing the deputy city clerk with the name of Mary Evie Inslee inserted.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded that we adopt the Evie Inslee as our deputy city clerk. Appreciate that. I know she's going to do a great job in that position. So looking forward to working with you, Evie, as we already have been. So appreciate that. I know there will be no questions or comments on this one, so Judy, please.
Councilman Southall,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilman Hux,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Councilman Canella,
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
and Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Okay, next item is a resolution making an appointment to the Planning Commission. Somebody prepared with a motion.
Mr. Mayor, at the direction of our Western Precinct representatives, I move that we adopt a resolution making an appointment to the Planning Commission with the name of John W. Smith, Brigadier General, retired, inserted.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded that we add Mr. Smith, or retired Brigadier General Smith, to the Planning Commission. Okay. Questions or comments? I know y'all interviewed him recently, and so, very good. Judy, please.
Councilman Canella,
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews,
Aye.
Councilman Green,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman,
Aye.
Councilman Southall,
Aye.
Councilman Hux,
Aye.
and Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
And last is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with American Pavement Markings. Randy, is there any description on this before we make the motion to move forward?
If I could take a second and just explain why this is here, and then if you have questions about actual road markings, Tom is here, and I appreciate you being here, Tom, to answer any questions about that. But as you'll recall, I have the authorization on your behalf to execute contracts of $100,000 or less. This is a contract, it's approximately $20,000 a year on average is what we spend, but it's a 2-year contract with 3 optional renewals. So it is possible that it would go over $100,000, and when it's possible like that, we err on the side of coming to the formal inclusion process. And in case you're wondering, the last 5 years combined, for 5 years total, we spent $102,000. So we were just sad over, and we wanted to make sure we were following both the letter and the intent of the procurement ordinance. Tom, anything you want to say about lane markings?
I can answer any questions you may have, but I think it's a very reasonable contract.
Do you have a specific question for Tom?
No, I just wanted to ask,
Okay.
is it $20K a year for all 5 of those years? Or does it go
It's
up?
it's based on what
Pay
we
as you
use
go.
it.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
that's
the
just kind of an average of how we've been using it.
Okay.
It's possible, and Tom and I actually were talking earlier today, it's possible we won't even be spending that much because we had some extraordinary painting projects that we were doing that we're not likely to do again in this period. So it's not a fixed, it's a fixed rate for when we do it, not a pay them, they're not on retainer, I guess I should say.
Any other questions? I've got one comment. One is really have enjoyed what you have done, Tom, as far as lane markings. I will tell you that for a lot of the drivers in Poquoson, a lot of us that may have been, maybe younger in years, I'm not there anymore, we kind of ignore the ability to see the road. But I'm going to tell you that those outside lane marks that you put on, I would just tell you that I believe that they save a lot of accidents. And I really appreciate that. I hope that y'all will do that more and more on some of our existing roads. And that there's nothing like being able to see the road in all types of weather. And it's something that we take for granted, and I will tell you that I can't count the number of elderly drivers that we have these days that I think have benefited from that. So I appreciate it. And me. All right. So with that, is anybody prepared to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with American Road Markings.
Second.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Questions or comments?
Just one comment, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
I can attest to the professionalism and the good service that American Road Markings provides, because in my younger years, when I was in the contracting business, we exclusively used them to do all of our pavement markings, and they were excellent. You couldn't have picked a better company.
Great. Okay, anything else? Judy, please.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
Councilman Hux.
Aye.
Councilman Canella.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Councilwoman Andrews.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Very good. Comments of the city manager.
Mr. Mayor, more than anything else, I just want to express appreciation to Judy and my staff and senior staff for allowing me to be present with my family last week on vacation, if you know what I mean. As always, Judy did a great job, and it's easy to take that for granted, but I never do. So thank you, Judy. That's all I have, sir.
Very good. Very well said. Councilman Hux.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to express appreciation to Mr. Randy Wheeler, Ms. Teresa Owens, and their staffs for a job well done with the budget presentation. So do appreciate that. Thank y'all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Green.
Mr. Mayor, I have nothing this evening.
Hold on. The hell? Really? Okay. Councilman Canella.
Mr. Mayor, just, of course, thank staff and the finance office, city manager's office, and everybody else who contributed to this budget. And congratulate Patrick McCormick again on his third state championship, Miss Evie, and retired Brigadier General Smith for his appointment to the Planning Commission.
Very well. Thank you. Bud?
I would like to second the comments that's already been made, especially to Randy and the staff for the budget preparation. Did an excellent job this year again. And thank those at home and those here for participating in their government and paying attention to what we do.
Yeah. Councilwoman Andrews.
Just more of what everybody said. Thank you guys for the work on the budget. I know from experience what hard work that is to put that together and how many hours go into that. So you guys did a great job.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
Nothing additional.
Okay. I don't have anything else this evening. Appreciate everybody's attention. Randy, really appreciate the budget. And I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
Okay. Judy, please.
Councilwoman Andrews.
Aye.
Councilman Canella.
Aye.
Councilman Southall.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Freeman.
Aye.
Councilman Hux.
Aye.
Councilman Green.
Aye.
And Mayor Hunt.
Aye.
Mr. Mayor, the motion carried by a vote of 7-0.
Okay, and we are adjourned. Thank you.